Hi there, welcome to Upcycled Adulting. My name is Cassie Feld, a certified menopause coach, and I am here to help you upcycle your real life into your best life, including reclaiming your health through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. And today I'm going to be talking about 9 common menopause myths. Now, the last one may just surprise you and is going to give you so much hope and help you feel empowered to really take control of your health in menopause and beyond. So let's get started. The number one menopause myth I hear so frequently is that it starts at 50. Menopause does not start at 50. Menopause symptoms, for sure, can start at as young as mid 30s, even early 30s. That's because we go through a phase called perimenopause, before menopause, where our hormones are wildly fluctuating. So we start having symptoms like sleep issues, frozen shoulder, even hot flashes or night sweats, cognitive issues like brain fog and fatigue long before we actually go through menopause. The average age for menopause in the United States is approximately 51 years old. Perimenopause generally starts anywhere from 7 to 10, even possibly 15 years prior to menopause. Any time between 45 and 55 is considered completely normal. And that means that as young as 35, it's very common to start having perimenopause symptoms. So most certainly you are not too young to be going through perimenopause or menopause. And if your doctor is telling you that, I highly recommend that you start to see a menopause specialist. You can find one through the Menopause Society website that's local to you, and that will take your insurance, or you can look at online providers like MIDI, Winona, or Alloy for support going through menopause. Number 2 is that menopause is the end of the feminine identity. This is a somewhat pervasive belief that once we can no longer have children, we're no longer menstruating, that women become irrelevant. And I just want to challenge this as internalized misogyny, as the belief that that is the purpose of womanhood. And that absolutely is not. You have so much to still contribute in your life. There is a reason why humans are one of only 2 species where female lives far beyond menopause. In many societies and cultures, women past menopause are considered matriarchs. They are very valued for their wisdom and their contribution to those cultures. So if you are struggling with feeling like you're less of a woman or feeling not as feminine because you're no longer menstruating or you're coming to the end of your reproductive years, I just want to point out to you that there is so much left in your life. There is so much value left for you to give, and to really challenge this mindset issue and to recognize it as a form of internalized misogyny so that you can get to the roots of it and remove it from your life. Number 3 is that hot flashes are the worst part. When I first learned about menopause in my younger life, it was more casually, kind of through media. I want to say that I learned a lot about it through movies and television shows. And basically what I thought it was is that your period stopped and you started having hot flashes. Those were the only 2 things I knew about menopause. I have to say that very often women report that hot flashes are not their worst symptom, and they are certainly not the only symptom. Usually hot flashes actually fall lower on the list of most bothersome or troublesome symptoms. Symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, those are the symptoms that women rate very highly. Weight gain, joint pain, all of those are the ones that women are more likely to be concerned about, that are more likely to be interfering with your life. There is a lot that can be done in symptom management to help you reclaim your life, to help you feel as healthy as possible, to reduce your symptoms or to reduce the way that your symptoms are impacting your day-to-day life, and to help you actually feel your best. So if you are struggling with perimenopause symptoms, and there's about 75 of them, by the way, I want you to know that there absolutely is hope for you. You do not have to settle for this is just how it is now. All right. By all means, you have many things you can do. I highly recommend getting a hold of my symptom tracker. I will put the link below so that you can get your hands on that, because that's going to help you identify and track your symptoms. And you're also going to get some cheat sheets and some information about things that you can be doing right now to reduce your symptoms or manage them so that you can actually feel your best and so that you can identify which things are really helping you, because all of us are individuals. The things that help me may not be as helpful for you, but you're going to find a whole bank of things, a whole toolbox of things that you can do to actually help reduce your symptoms. Number 4 is that weight gain in menopause is inevitable and there's nothing you can do about it. Weight gain in perimenopause and menopause is extremely common. There are multiple reasons why you may be gaining weight, and as you may have already noticed, the techniques you used in your 20s and maybe even your 30s to address your weight are probably not working anymore. This is because of the very complicated relationship between estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, and insulin function and cortisol function. And so as we go through perimenopause and menopause, it's very common to become insulin resistant. It's very common to become much more sensitive to cortisol, and that oftentimes contributes to weight gain, especially in that midsection. You often hear people talking about menobelly. There's a lot that can be done to address this, to reduce the weight gain, to reverse the weight gain, so that you can actually go back to feeling your best. I know when I started going through perimenopause, I gained about 50 pounds. Don't freak out. It happens. I gained about 50 pounds. I also have Hashimoto's. So initially I thought it was because of my thyroid. It later became very apparent to me as I was trying to incorporate some of my thyroid strategies that wasn't what the problem was. And I realized that one of the biggest factors here was that my cortisol level was really high. And the other big factor is that I was struggling with insulin resistance. So if this is something that you notice that you are struggling with as well, and you want to address this, I highly recommend that you check out my 90-day menopause reset, where we're going to go through all of the different various things that could be going on with your body. Step by step, we'll walk through what you can do about it so you can find what specifically works for you and helps you drop some of this weight. I promise you it can be done. You can actually stop the weight gain. You can actually bring the weight back down. And I know you definitely want to, because when I gained that weight, it was really the discomfort in my body that I was struggling the most with. I was having a lot of joint pain. I was noticing I was feeling winded doing simple activities. And I really wanted to obviously start exercising. I kept hearing, oh, you need to strength train, and strength training is so good through menopause. But I was in so much pain that I was actually struggling to do it. So a great way to reclaim your life and to reduce your weight, to take control of your weight in perimenopause and menopause, is to check out the 90-day menopause reset, where we go through step by step exactly how to address this particular symptom and the whole host of symptoms that you're probably experiencing going through perimenopause and menopause. Number 5 is that menopause ruins your sex life. This is actually also a very common belief, just like the weight gain one. And this is caused a lot because of the decrease in libido, vaginal dryness, discomfort during intercourse. Those things are common symptoms, but again, there's a lot you can do about this. Having good communication with your partner, of course, is incredibly important, but it's also important to know what medical interventions, what supplement interventions you can take to actually reverse this issue. And again, that's something I dig really deeply into in the 90-day reset, because this is a really important part of your life. Your intimacy with other people is very important. And actually, they have recently found that having a satisfying sex life can help reduce menopause symptoms. So it's kind of a catch-22. If you can get this managed, it can actually help you reduce some of your other symptoms, and that makes a really big deal. So again, check the link below, see if the 90-day reset is a good fit for you. If you are struggling with your sex life or libido or weight gain or any other menopause symptoms, that's going to be the best way to go through everything that you can be doing to feel your best in perimenopause or menopause. The next is that perimenopause equals lighter or less periods. Again, I really thought, my sister one time, we were at a birthday party and she said to me, are you experiencing perimenopause symptoms yet? And she's 2 years younger than me. Okay. And of course, this led to the certification and me now coaching on this because I realized I know a lot about health and I didn't even know this. So there's probably a lot of people out there who don't know this. I said to her, no, actually, my periods are closer together now. They used to be 28 days, now they're 21 days. And so I thought for sure I was not experiencing perimenopause or menopause because my cycles were closer. And I always thought, again, that your cycle stopped, right? And then I was like, well, maybe they don't suddenly stop. Maybe they just get lighter and further apart and then they stop. No. Okay. A lot of women in perimenopause actually experience closer, more frequent, longer, and heavier cycles. And that, again, may be you. Again, this is something addressed in the 90-day reset. It is very, very problematic for a lot of women and very much interferes with their ability to engage in their normal life activities because of how heavy their periods are and how frequent or long their periods are. If you are experiencing frequent long periods right now, and that's something going on in your life right now, I highly recommend that you make an appointment with your doctor and get your ferrin and iron levels checked to make sure that you are not iron deficient, because this is actually something that is relatively common in perimenopause and menopause. You might be writing off your fatigue thinking that it's a menopause symptom or a perimenopause symptom, but if you're having really heavy cycles, it actually could be being caused by that. You might need to supplement iron, so make sure that you get your iron levels checked. Number 7 is that menopause and perimenopause only impact your reproductive organs. Right now, you might be thinking, wow, Cassie, that's a lot of random stuff that's happening. I thought that perimenopause and menopause was just something that happened reproductively. I had no idea that it would cause all these other issues. So I am here to tell you that it affects every single part of your body. Every organ in your body has estrogen receptors, including your brain, your heart, your liver, every organ in your body. And so in perimenopause, when your estrogen and progesterone levels are all over the place, they're in flux, right? In menopause, when they steeply decline, you actually start to have symptoms in every single part of your body. That's why menopause actually increases your risk for diabetes, osteoporosis, heart disease, dementia, and Alzheimer's, etc. It's because all these parts of your body are deprived of estrogen, and that is actually causing an issue. If you're a reader, if you're a person who's like, I want to read all about menopause, I love doing research, I want to learn more about it, I highly recommend the book Estrogen Matters. It can really help you to better understand why so much of your life, so much of your body's function, your physical health is impacted by menopause, and not just your physical health, but also your mental health. If you're experiencing things like depression, feeling checked out, anxiety, things like that, also related to menopause. Again, we address it in the 90-day reset. But if you are specifically curious about the impact of estrogen, you want to do a deep dive on that, check out the book Estrogen Matters. It will help you deeply and truly get your head around what is happening here. Number 8, and I'm sorry to say this one because some of you are going to be really jarred by this, but number 8 is that your symptoms disappear after menopause. I'm in a lot of online forums for perimenopause, and the number of women in these groups who are like, I'm just counting down the days until I actually am in menopause, which by the way is 12 months without a period, that's menopause, and then everything after that day is considered postmenopause. Now, if you're a person who's thinking, I am counting down the days until menopause because then all my symptoms will go away in postmenopause, I'm so sorry to tell you that that is not true. Some women have their symptoms improve after menopause. Some women develop different symptoms after menopause than they had in perimenopause, and some women's symptoms get much, much worse. That's why it's so important to really recognize what's happening and to start implementing lifestyle factors. So if you're a person who's been sitting there going, I can white knuckle this until I get through menopause and then this is going to get better, so I don't need to worry about doing all these things, I'm just counting it down, I'm 8 months without a period, and in just a few more months, my symptoms are going to go away. I'm sorry to tell you that is not true. Your symptoms could change, they could improve, and they could also get worse. And a lot of women are very surprised and very disappointed to find that their symptoms have gotten worse, sometimes much worse, because again, after menopause, your estrogen levels are incredibly low. And remember that every part of your body has estrogen receptors. And so you may start to experience much worse symptoms when you have a full estrogen drought, basically. In addition, I think it's really important to recognize that estrogen is very important in helping to prevent cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, dementia, and Alzheimer's. And so there are a lot of reasons to consider continuing on estrogen. And that leads me to number 9, which is that HRT is dangerous or that natural is better. I see a lot of women talking about how doing it naturally is better. This is a natural process and your body should be doing this and we shouldn't interfere with this in some way. And I really want to spend a little bit of time talking about why that isn't true and what you need to know about HRT and what kind of questions you should be asking about HRT when you see your doctor. So this is not true. One of the reasons why this is a natural process is because women didn't used to live much past menopause. Sometimes women didn't even live until menopause. And so recognizing that because of the increase in lifespan, right? The average age, the average lifespan of a woman is much longer now. We live approximately 30% of our lives in menopause, about 40% of our lives in the menopause transition with perimenopause all the way through menopause. When we live that long post-menopause, the impact of not having enough estrogen is profound. And estrogen is actually shown to reduce all-cause mortality in women. And that means, in layman's terms, that your lifespan and health span are extended by using HRT. You will live longer and be healthier. And for those of you who are thinking osteoporosis is probably not that big of a deal, like I'll be careful, to recognize that one of the things that also happens after menopause and during perimenopause is something called sarcopenia, which contributes to the weight gain, metabolism issues, a lot of other problems. But one of the things that sarcopenia contributes to is frailty. You're more likely to fall, you're more likely to break a bone, and you're more likely to break a bone that is a larger bone and difficult to recover from it. And we all know, for example, the broken hip story. The unfortunate thing is that the likelihood of death after a broken hip within a year is very high. So it's important to recognize that it is very problematic to deal with osteoporosis, to be dealing with high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, etc., when you get into the later years of your life. So one of the things that we can do to reduce our risks, right, our disease risks, even if we don't have a lot of symptoms, to reduce disease risk is to start HRT, to start it earlier. That's where we're safest. We're going to start it earlier. Within 10 years of menopause, we want to start HRT, and prior to the age 65. You can start HRT in perimenopause. But even if you don't have any symptoms, even if you feel amazing, even if you feel like you've got this thing managed with diet and lifestyle, and by the way, that's because of your body. Some women, no matter what they do, they're still going to have symptoms. They're still going to have extreme symptoms, right? So even if you're feeling great, going to HRT is a wise idea for the purpose of extending your life and health span, disease reduction, right? Quality of life issues, even without symptoms. Now, it used to be believed, and it still is commonly believed, that HRT contributes to breast cancer. And first of all, I want to put it out there that when we were no longer prescribing HRT, which was from about 2000 to about 2020, most women were not using HRT because of the WHI study. The breast cancer rates increased. They did not decrease, all right? It's important to recognize that that study was flawed and that study only looked at women over 65 more than 10 years past menopause, and that was part of why they showed a slight increase in breast cancer. It is actually very, very minimal. And even if you have a family history of breast cancer, which I do, you still are likely a candidate for HRT. Even if you have had breast cancer, you are a candidate for vaginal estrogen, which can prevent UTIs, recurrent UTIs, which are very common in women and often lead to sepsis and death. More than 80,000 women in the United States die every year of sepsis related to a UTI. So, understanding that replacing hormones can really reduce your risk of many diseases, of many injuries, of many quality of life issues, and can extend your life, that HRT does not have a substantial increased risk of breast cancer, that HRT that is transdermal, meaning on your skin, like patches or creams, does not have a higher risk of blood clots. This is very important. If you're not seeing a menopause specialist yet, I highly recommend that you switch to a menopause specialist. Again, you can find one through the Menopause Society, not because you have to go on HRT, but so that you can have an open discussion about it. And if you choose to not go on HRT, they can provide you with options or things that you can do to help reduce your disease risk. They also are going to be much more thorough. They are also generally much more thorough with screening for some of these diseases. So, right, if you're over 35 and you think you're in perimenopause or beyond, switch to a menopause specialist as your OBGYN or your primary care provider so that you're getting the best coverage for this stage of your life. Now, if you want to go to your doctor, you want to talk to your doctor about perimenopause or menopause, you're not sure how to approach it, maybe you want to advocate for HRT, maybe you just want to get more information from your doctor, find out if you're a candidate, I highly recommend, again, signing up for the symptom. I highly recommend, again, getting into the 90-day reset or grabbing the symptom tracker, because in either of those programs, you're going to get your hands on your doctor appointment prep sheets. And that's going to help you to identify the symptoms you want to talk about, to keep track of questions, to know what to ask your doctor to get there, to know what to ask your doctor when you get there, and so much more. So make sure that you check those out. Again, the links are below. I want you to know more than anything that menopause is not an end, that midlife is not an end, that this is the beginning. You're going to live for probably another 30 to 40 years plus, right? Hopefully in excellent health if you understand menopause and you are able to actually support your body through this time. Your body is not betraying you. It's not doing anything bad. You're not experiencing symptoms or having health challenges or weight gain because you're doing something wrong or because you just need to exercise more or you just need to eat less or whatever it is that you might be thinking from past experiences. This is because your body is changing and it needs your support. And I promise you can navigate this and you can reclaim your health and feel your best. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to divorce your husband. You don't have to run away to a deserted island, even though I know you might be feeling that way. I've been there. There's a lot that you can do to feel better in midlife and beyond, in perimenopause and beyond, and I'm here to help you do that. Don't forget to subscribe, check out the symptom tracker and the 90-day reset. See if those are a good fit for you to help support you through this time. I cannot wait to see you next week. Bye, everyone.